subject today will be the blending of the 3 to the 1 when the feet are apart, or if it's in foxtrot, from the 4 into the next bar. We'll look at the hover telemark, and the hover telemark in the American syllabus is usually called a twinkle. And of course we can do that into parallel position or ending in promenade. So in your imperial book in the charts, it would be the hover telemark or the hover telemark ending in promenade. And then if we're dancing waltz, we could close our feet at the end, or we could dance a chasse, we could dance a weave, and so on. In foxtrot, we'll dance a feather ending from promenade, or a weave, or any other figure that we might start from promenade, such as a wing and so forth. Now, not all of these are in the charts, but in the open divisions, you can mix them up quite a bit. So in the American syllabus, you will have the hover telemark with the twinkle in both foxtrot and the waltz. And in the international syllabus, it's only in the charts in the foxtrot. But again, we'll use it in the open divisions. So anytime the feet are open here, and then there's a lowering action. Now that also would include an open impetus turn or an open telemark, on either foot. What we want to do is look at the blending, the lowering action on into the next bar of the music. So this is what we're wanting to avoid. It's this collapsing of the leg and foot, and the other leg still hanging back. So we should never be in this position. So if I dance, let's say I'm dancing the hover telemark here to promenade, I don't have a lot of space. But as the man, then I would come to my split position. So it's good to practice stopping here with the weight split between the feet instead of just allowing the weight to fall. We do want a falling effect, and that is, of course, the feeling of releasing weight. But it's not a feeling of falling down into the foot or tipping over. It's allowing the spine to move. So if you stand there with the heels off the floor, rocking back and forth. Now, as my heel approaches the floor, I'm going to close the free leg. So the legs should always be trying to close. And I'm going to feel there's activity in both legs. You feel as though maybe there's a stiff marshmallow under your left foot as you close and then blend on into the next step. If I'm dancing the ladies part there, and then again standing on 2 feet, putting that cushion under my right foot and closing the legs together and continuing on into the next step. So feel the tone through your feet. You notice that I'm not trying to do a stiff action here. There's always flexibility. Now for the ladies, they have a heel also. So it's a good idea sometimes to practice these lowering actions in a jazz shoe or a dance sneaker or a very low heel, so that you exercise the foot a little bit more, because of course your heel is going to find the floor a lot quicker than the man, but you still need to have the same quality of controlled lowering with resistance, but also the feeling of timing the legs together and never ending here on the end of the foxtrot bar or the waltz. So easy exercise to do from foot to foot. Just putting the heel down and closing the feet in various positions. Get used to the legs always trying to find each other. All right, so for Rich, this is what we did a little bit on our lesson last week. And for any other dancers, this is a very helpful exercise. A lot of people say they don't have good balance. A lot of times it's not balance, it's learning placement. You're simply transferring too much body weight too quickly to the foot, not letting the leg swing, and then passing through the split position, and then getting the placement of the legs coming together. So it's not necessarily weakness. A lot of times it's placement and timing of weight. One other thing I'd like to mention while we're talking about the hover telemark or the twinkle, and we're looking here at the foxtrot. Now, licentiate is the silver level. The hover telemark is the same thing as the twinkle, and this one is ending outside partner, or in parallel. In some of the syllabus this is called a spiral or a traveling twinkle, but it's the hover telemark, and then on the next page we have the hover telemark to promenade. But what I want to note here is the unusual rise for foxtrot. So this would be done the same in foxtrot or waltz, although as I said, in the waltz we don't have this in the syllabus, in the international, in the standard, but we do in the American style. We have a gradual rise. Now it's not the same as you would have in the waltz on your reverse and natural turns, which is just a little bit different, where you have a commence and continue through 2 and 3. Here we have a commence to rise at the end of 1, continue to rise on 2, and then up on 3 and lower at the end of 3. Now that's the step. This is, if we're in waltz, of course, that's also the beat. But this would not be the same in foxtrot, because our first step would be a slow. But notice that it's not continue to rise on 2 and 3. It's continue to rise on 2 and up on 3. So slightly different. But it is gradual. It is not the early rise that we see in most of the foxtrot figures. The other exception would be the back feather, which is in gold, and that is also the same type of gradual rise. Now this rise on the twinkle or hover telemark is the same as the whisk and waltz. And I'm not going to page through here right now, but you can check that in your book, that we have a commence, continue, and up also on the whisk and waltz. So that's a little bit of an interesting note that is different on some of these figures.